Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie, and good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. So, today we're going to talk about this very strange story of Noah Donohoe. And this is so very sad because this boy was only 14 years old and is no longer on this planet. But it's a very mysterious circumstances how Noah died. What really happened to him? Nobody really knows. And the police in Northern Ireland, this has taken place in Northern Ireland in Belfast. The police are insisting no foul play, or they were insisting no foul play. As we get into this, you will see it is a convoluted story with a few twists and turns, and it is still not resolved to this day. The only thing that we know for certain, really, is that this boy is deceased. Noah, what happened to Noah? And I can't believe I've only just actually seen about this story, because this happened a few years ago. And but the inquest has been ongoing ever since. Protracted inquest, it's described as. So what did happen to this boy? So anyway, I'm going to light a candle for him first and foremost, because one thing we do know for sure is poor Noah, on the brink of his life, 14 years old, but very difficult age. We know that, don't we, for things we've been looking at. And it brought to attention as well by that series, Adolescence, on Netflix. It's been good. It's brought to the forefront of what people are talking about. I think adolescence, teenage years are so difficult, and they seem especially difficult for boys for some reason, but maybe not. Maybe it just depends on the personality, doesn't it? Maybe some boys do sail through adolescence with no problems. And of course, a lot of girls have problems in adolescence. So we shouldn't restrict it to it's only boys have problems, but it does feel almost like boys have more problems, just for various reasons. I mean, girls do tend to talk to their friends, at least. Boys, they don't sort of share emotional issues in the same way. Now, what happened to this boy? When you see the timeline and his last day, if you like, or his last couple of days, from when he disappeared to when he was found a week later in a storm drain, and his inquest showed that he was drowned. He was naked. There's CCTV of him riding his bike naked at some point, before he disappeared finally. Why was he doing that? These are the unanswered questions in this case. Were there some sort of drugs involved in what happened to Noah? I mean, he may be 14, but you know what? Kids of 14 take drugs. That's a fact. And, if you think your son or any of your relatives, they would never do it, think again. You just don't know. Because by the time children get to 14, their peer groups are more important than their parents normally. And even whatever good message you've tried to show your children, sometimes it just doesn't cut through when it comes to their 14 years old. They've got problems of angst and puberty, etc. And drugs can seem like a way out to children. So it's a possibility. It's being talked about as a possibility. There's definitely something very strange about Noah's death. And is it something that he brought on himself? In other words, he did it to himself. Or is this something that somebody else has done to him? Why was he riding his bike naked along the road before he got found in this storm drain? What happened to all his belongings? Why was his rucksack found in the possession of somebody else? It's a real mystery, and for his mum it must be an absolute torture. What happened to him? How did he just disappear? Say he was going out one day and then disappear, and then a week later found dead, drowned apparently, nude in a storm drain. How does his mother reconcile herself with that? And then in the meantime, the police are saying, nothing to see here, no suspicious circumstances. So this is what we're going to talk about today, the case of Noah. And I just hope some resolute, Noah can't be brought back. At least his body's been recovered, he's been laid to rest. But we need to know, or certainly his mum, his family. I don't know about his dad, whether his dad's in the picture or not. Maybe it'll come out in the investigations we're going to do now. This is quite a new case to me. I've only just heard about it yesterday. So I've been doing some research, but I haven't researched it as much as I would normally do about cases, that I've spent a lot of time and attention on. So a lot of the things that we'll be looking at today are things that are new for me as well. So, yeah, it's going to be, is there foul play involved in the disappearance of Noah? Or did he do it to himself? Or was he on some sort of, was it drug induced? Also, there's been speculation by the police because he did fall off his bike. He was seen at one point falling off his bike. Somebody tried to help him and he refused to help and rode off. Did he bang his head? Was he disorientated? Yeah, these are all the questions that need answering. Okay, let me put my banner on. I want to say thank you, first of all. Thank you for caring about Noah. Thank you for caring about all the cases that I cover on this channel. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking. Thank you for watching. Please consider subscribing. If you're not already subscribed, it's completely free. Don't forget to leave your DNA on the like button. These are two very free ways you can help out this channel. And also, if you press notifications, you'll get updates on this case or any of the other cases that we're following. Also, thank you so much to my members. We had a good members live last night again. Thank you so much for supporting my channel in that way. Thank you to people who send me super stickers, PayPal me, buy me Ko-fi. Your support means more than you know. Yeah. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to say hello to everybody who's in the chat here now. I want to say hello to you lurkers at home and also to the replay crew who'll be watching this video after I've finished the actual live. Okay, so let's have a look. Hi, sheep farming. Hi, Heather. Hi, Annie. We're just, I know, Annie, I honestly, I feel for you because I've been through it. Still not out of it 100%. It's a very difficult time. I think adolescence, I think if anybody, even though we've been adolescents ourselves, and I always used to think, oh, I wasn't a bad teenager. But now, of course, I look back at things. I wasn't a bad, I didn't get into terrible trouble, but I was completely disregarding of my parents' feelings. I think that's the worst thing that I remember. It was just like, I think teenagers, just by the nature of puberty, etc., they're so self-absorbed, and it's just the way it is. It's not mean they're bad or any, that there's something about adolescence and all the hormones and the brain forming and, this has gone back to Plato's time. I remember I've read The Republic by Plato, and he complains about the teenagers in that. This is not a new thing. This has always been the same. Teenagers rebel against their parents. They go through these bad phases. They get involved in things they shouldn't get involved in. If they're lucky, they exit unscathed from these experiences. Sometimes they get involved in more serious things and end up in juvenile detention or whatever, and that's when everything goes wrong big time, isn't it, normally? Or maybe they get rehabilitated, But anyway, they go through a difficult phase. So if you're lucky, you don't actually get any problems that, as far as the police are concerned. But, you know, you're going to have problems. You're not going to have no problems. I don't believe that anybody's teenagers go through their teenage years, young adult stage, without causing their parents problems. You know, you know, you might as well say, I don't know, the sky's not blue or something. I mean, it's just the way it is, isn't it? So yeah, I do feel for you, Annie, because you've got to come. I think I've, you know, I've been there. I could do a bloody live stream all day on all that, but I could write a book on all that, but I'm not going to do that. But, you know, it's just one of those things. So this is why I think with Noah, seems to me, Noah was entering into that age, wasn't he? 13, 14, where it all starts to go horribly wrong, or it feels like that. And it's just a complete shock, I think, to a parent, because it literally is. If you've ever watched the Harry Enfield teenager type thing, it literally is. Feels like they go to bed the night before the 13th birthday and they're just like a little kid. You know, looking forward to the birthday, and they wake up the next morning like sulky and, you know, moody and hate you, and everything you do is wrong. Just seems to literally go overnight, and anyone who's had children will understand that. Hi, Angel. I won't be post-pat. A loyalist drug gang? Well, possibly. Possibly. I mean, was he doing the, what's the word? Was he doing the country lines, county lines or whatever? Now, the thing is, hi, David. I have not seen, honestly, literally saw this case yesterday, which surprised me because, no, I take an interest in true crime. I know it's in Belfast. Maybe it's because I've been following the case of John George, and maybe so things now are coming up more from Belfast as well. It's a very tragic case, whichever way you look at it, whether you think that he did it to himself or whether you think it was something else more sinister. Whichever way you look at it, this is a boy, a 14-year-old boy with his whole life in front of him, a family wondering what's happened to him. A horrible death, really, I think, whichever way you look at it. But anyway, so let's look into the story. Now, let's see where it happened, first of all. So I want to show, I've got a Google map. Let me just put a couple of windows down already, because I've got more windows open than I need to. So I've got someone inquiring about classes at the same time. Let's get this Google Maps up. So, never having been to Belfast, I'm not familiar with the geography of Belfast, but you can see from this map, Fitzroy Avenue is where this boy lived. This is where Noah lived in Fitzroy Avenue. And he was found eventually after a week of being missing. Now it says 40 minutes in a car, 3.1 miles. This is where he was found. In a storm drain, which seemed to be on the Northwood Road. The corner, there was another road that it attaches to as well, which I can't see now. Let's see, Northwood Road goes up here. Anyway, somewhere around here. I mean, this isn't given the exact location. We are going to look at the exact location. But you can see he was found quite away from where he lived. you know, but he was on his bicycle. Did he cycle all that way? I suppose if it's only 14 minutes in a car, it's not that far, really, is it? What happened to him in between? What happened to him in between? Who did he encounter? Did somebody do something to him? What was in his rucksack? Why was he nude? Why was he cycling naked? He was caught on CCTV cycling naked across the, you know, that is just strange in itself, isn't it? Very strange. You know, what 14-year-old boy? What 14-year-old boy would be cycling naked? You know, 14-year-old boys and girls, you know, we're all conscious of our bodies, but especially teenagers, aren't they? You know, imagine him. I can't. To me, the first thing I thought when I saw that was that wouldn't be voluntary. He would not be cycling voluntarily naked unless he was high on something. You know, maybe he'd taken some hallucinogenic or something. I can't see that would be a voluntary thing that any teenage boy would do, would be to cycle naked along the road in full view of everybody. You know, teenagers are totally self-conscious about their bodies, aren't they? So, you know, how did that happen? Anyway, let's have a look now at the timeline. So I found this timeline on, I mean, we're going to look at a lot of things, but I found this timeline on Reddit, of all places. But Reddit can be good for information. So this was 2 months ago, this was put up there. Now, I say, I can't believe I've never heard of this before. Why has there not been more publicity about this? Because it is, you know, it is a really strange case, whichever way you look at it. You know, a 14-year-old boy disappears and is found deceased in a storm drain, naked, and he's been caught on CCTV cycling naked along the road. How much weirder can a case get? Anyway, so the bizarre case of Noah Donohoe. Let me just have a drink because there's quite a bit of reading here. So this is what this person says on Reddit. By all accounts, 14-year-old Noah Donohoe was a normal, bright young boy living his life in Belfast, Northern Ireland. He excelled in math and science at school, and he had even received awards in the latter category. He was also musically inclined as he played the cello, and as can be expected of any teenage boy, he also enjoyed playing soccer with his friends. The principal of Noah's school even referred to him as a perfect gentleman with the heart of a lion. I think while I'm reading this, we'll put the picture of Noah up because, oh, we've got it up in the corner there. That's okay then. All that to say, the events of June the 21st, 2020. So this was 5 years ago. So Noah would be 19 now, I suppose. Or so on June the 21st, 2020, the events could not have been more unexpected. Sometime in the early evening of that day, young Noah grabbed his backpack, filled with a few books and his laptop, and took off on his bicycle to meet some friends to work on a project for school. Now, of course, that might not be where he was really going. That must be what he's probably told his mum. Maybe he was involved in, there is talk. I mean, I know somebody mentioned it there in the chat, but that's unconfirmed for me. But, you know, no offense to that person, but even officially now they have sort of made some sounds about there might be some drug involvement. But, you know, nothing in particular. So tragically, he would never make it. Thankfully, there is a fair amount of CCTV footage that can at least give us some insights into what happened to him on that journey. So at 5:45, so it's quite late, isn't it, really? What day was it? I wonder. Was it a school day? Because if it was a school day, that's sort of quite late, isn't it? Mind you, it was summer, I suppose. So at 5:45, Noah leaves his home with his backpack and on his bike to meet his friends at Cave Hill Country Park, only a couple of miles from his school. Here he plans to work with his friends on the aforementioned school project. 5:50, he's riding down Royal Avenue, a street running through the busy downtown of Belfast. By the time he gets to the end of Royal Avenue, he is without his backpack. So, what happened to his backpack? He's not naked yet, though. But he's without his backpack. Where is his backpack? Apparently, the backpack was found. Another boy had it, I believe. It may say it here. So he is without his backpack by the time he gets to the end of Royal Avenue. No witnesses ever came forward claiming to see when Noah was separated from his backpack, and no CCTV footage of this event has been found either. So let me just have a little look. So is it, well, thing is, if it's drug involvement or gangs or whatever, people aren't going to come forward, are they? You know, they'll be scared to come forward. So, you know, something happened to his backpack. You know, at some point, it was taken off him, or he lost it, he dropped it. What happened to it? So Royal Avenue is a street in the heart of Belfast city centre, Northern Ireland. Yeah. Says it's, as BBC says, it's a cultural hub uniting communities. Well, you know, sometimes that can mean it's you know, dangerous place, can't it? I mean, I don't know. Anyone who's out there who knows anything about this place, Royal Avenue, you know, is it significant for anything in particular? So that apparently he was seen riding down there, but nobody saw him get separated from his backpack. Then at 6 p.m, he was seen crashing off his bike. Makes me wonder, had he taken something? A bus driver comes over to help, but Noah rides off before he can get there. Now, he's still got clothes on then. A few minutes later, Noah is seen about 3 miles from his destination on Northwood Road, which is an area he was unfamiliar with. However, he now is without his helmet or clothing. So now not only got separated from his backpack, now he hasn't got his helmet on or any clothes. What happened? In that couple of minutes from when he fell off his bike, his underwear, his t-shirt and shorts have never been recovered. I thought they were found scattered, but anyway, we'll have a look on another article, see what they say. But on here, again, this is just what someone on Reddit is saying. I must look for the actual official version. Sometime after, Noah is seen naked riding his bike by 2 witnesses into a cul-de-sac. At 6:03, Noah is seen walking naked alongside a house in the direction of a storm drain. And as far as we know, that is all the footage we have of Noah Donohoe on that fateful journey, according to this guy or woman. So around 9:30 p.m. that night, worried about her son's failure to return home, Noah's mother reported him missing. She initially became concerned when Noah failed to call her around 6:30 p.m. when he should have been arriving at the park to meet his friends. About a day after Noah was last seen, a local woman reported that his bicycle was lying at the bottom of her driveway, and the woman lived in the cul-de-sac where Noah was seen walking naked. Naturally, the police immediately searched around her home, including in a nearby storm drain, but they were unable to locate Noah or any evidence of his presence outside of the bicycle. Not long after, search and rescue squads were brought in to search the area around Northwood Road, where the aforementioned items of clothing were found. What aforementioned items of clothing? Oh yeah, his hoodie, his helmet and shoes would later be found scattered nearby, but his underwear, t-shirt and shorts were never recovered. Ah, right, okay. So some of his clothing was recovered, but not all of it. It was during this search that Noah's phone would be found in a local park he passed on his way to Northwood Road. A few days after he went missing, the local police superintendent held a press conference in which he laid out the police's initial theory of what had happened to Noah. They theorized that when Noah fell off his bike, he hit his head hard enough to cause a brain injury and disorientation, leading him to undressing and wandering off. Noah's family and their supporters were and still are skeptical of this theory. Well, it seems a bit convenient, doesn't it? Hi, Whistling Dixie. Hi, Wesley. Very odd, isn't it? So he fell off his bike. He hit his head so hard that he got a brain injury, but then he got back on his bike and rode off. Yeah. On the same day, the police received what appeared to be a rather big break in the case. A local criminal and drug addict was caught trying to pawn Noah's laptop. The owner of the shop called the police on Darryl Paul when he realised the laptop belonged to the missing boy. Police would later receive an anonymous tip that Paul had also tried to sell the laptop at a party the previous night. Naturally, the police apprehended Paul and brought him in for questioning. And when he was arrested, he was also found to be in possession of Noah's backpack and books. So that's where the backpack ended up. So during questioning, Paul claimed to have found the backpack, leaned against a building at the bottom of Royal Avenue, the area in which police believed that Noah had separated from his backpack in some way. Paul would later be sentenced to 3 months in prison for stealing the backpack. However, he was ruled out as a suspect in Noah's disappearance, as CCTV shows Paul in a different part of the city during the time the boy went missing. So, if that's true, what he says, that he found the backpack, why did Noah leave the backpack there? Don't forget, this is before he fell off his bike and got this supposed brain injury. So, that the police are talking about. So, seems that Noah was, there's no reason to think that Noah wasn't compos mentis then. So why did he take his backpack off and leave it there? Or did someone else steal it off him? And why is there no CCTV of that event? Sounds like that road. Somebody just said then in the chat that it's, let's have a look, one of the busiest streets in Belfast. So why was it not seen on CCTV when Noah got separated from his backpack? or that other man picking it up. You know, you think it would all be on CCTV, really, wouldn't you? On one of the busiest streets. Oh yeah, they're going to blame social media now. As could be expected for such a high-profile case and controversial case, social media went wild. Well, I didn't hear about it, and I follow crime cases. You know, so it didn't go that wild. There were allegations of this being a hate crime due to Noah's race and religion. We'll cover this possibility more later. So, yeah, I think you would say that he was mixed race. I don't know what his religion was. I presume they're going to say that he was maybe Islamic or Muslim. Plus, there were the usual cases of people making false claims of their involvement in order to gain some semblance of attention. I mean, I'll never understand this, why people, you know, put themselves in the centre of cases just for the attention. Anyway, 6 days after his disappearance, everyone's worst fears were sadly confirmed when police announced they had discovered 14-year-old Noah, his body, in a narrow storm drain. We're going to have a look in a minute where he was found, behind Northwood Road, the road where he was last seen on CCTV. And the case would only become more contentious and controversial from here. An autopsy would later determine that Noah had died by drowning, having crawled into the unlocked storm drain and potentially becoming stuck. The police believed that Noah had been in the storm drain the entire 6 days he was missing. As far as we know, no drugs or alcohol were found in his system. But his family and others disagree with the authorities' conclusion on this case, pointing to the relative lack of decomposition in such a wet environment. In August of that year, the coroner would tell an inquest. Well, we know what coroners are like, don't we? There was no evidence of there being any other party involved in Noah's death. Noah's recovered phone would eventually become a controversial topic in this case. So this is a very important thing. A photo of a hand was found on the phone, seemingly taken after it had been abandoned by Noah, and claimed around 6:50 p.m. that day. Now, granted, this could simply have been someone who stumbled across the phone and picked it up, accidentally taking a picture of their hand. Come on. So somebody picked up the phone, took a photo of their hand, heard all this going on about Noah and never came forward. Come on. Some of the more conspiracy-minded folks have claimed it shows signs of an involved third party. Well, you know, I don't believe in conspiracy theories. I try to avoid conspiracy theories, but it doesn't seem to me that it's a conspiracy. This is a fact. His phone was found with the photo of a hand on it. That's somebody's hand. How is that a conspiracy theory? To think that somebody else might have been involved when it's got a photo of a hand on it. Of interest to many were the seemingly unusual Google searches and social media activity on the boy's phone on the day leading up to his disappearance. He had seemingly been messaging an account he believed to be run by Jordan Peterson, the often controversial psychologist. Never heard of him, but I'll have a look in a minute. Noah seemed to have a very strong interest in Jordan Peterson's work, being an avid reader of his and a listener to his podcast. He had also been researching a number of religious topics, such as Sodom and Gomorrah, and had been seeking out advice on how to ward off Satan. These could just be the searches of a bored teenage boy, though some have claimed they point to Noah suffering a mental health crisis on the day he went missing. Well, it does sound like that. But, you know, teenage boys do search. Not only teenage boys, but I think all of us, well, certainly me, because of the interest that I have in true crime. If somebody was to go through my search engine, they'd probably come up with all sorts of things, and they could make anything out of it. Let me just, I don't know, Jordan Patterson. But certainly teenage boys and girls probably, they do probably Google strange things. Mental health and mental illness. How would he end up? No, how would he even know about Jordan Patterson? Does it? I got, you know, I don't know. Okay, so yeah, he'd been searching Jordan Patterson, the psychologist's things. So theories. There are certainly no shortage of theories in this case, from rumours of needle-wielding homeless drug addicts to an unsubstantiated jailhouse confession by a loyalist paramilitary group. However, we will stick to some of the mainstream theories. Theory 1, head injury leading to accidental drowning. This is the official explanation. While the family claims there's no evidence of a severe head injury in the autopsy, concussions are often microscopic in nature and can be nearly impossible to diagnose outside of neurological testing. So it doesn't seem too hard to believe Noah fell off his bike, suffered a concussion, became confused and disorientated, undressed. Oh, come on, is this Jack and Ori or what? Sorry. So just amazes me, because they're going to turn around and say that theories that social media people have come up with are ridiculous and impossible, but this is supposed to be feasible. So apparently then the official thing is that in his disorientated state, he wandered around before finding his way into the storm drain. How did that happen? Becoming stuck and tragically drowning. That reminds me a bit of Elisa Lam, you know, because they said she'd had a psychotic break, didn't you? Do you remember that case? That girl in the Hotel Cecil in America. She got into the water tank, apparently, because of you know, and some people don't believe that it was a mental break, that she was put in that water tank. Theory 2, mental illness or psychotic break. This theory is very similar to the head injury theory, with the only difference being that Noah was suffering from a rapidly onset mental illness or going through a psychotic break, leading to the odd events captured on CCTV and ultimately his death. Evidence for this can be found in his over-infatuation with Jordan Peterson, and not specifically who he is, but because of the obsession he held with him. Sorry, I'm going to sneeze probably. And his somewhat peculiar heavy research, including regarding religious beliefs and texts on the day of his death. Obviously, suddenly abandoning your plans and removing your clothing before climbing into a storm drain are also potential signs of a serious mental break. Of potential note is that Noah was actually caught on CCTV sneaking out of his home at 3:30 a.m. on the morning of the day of his disappearance, and he returned approximately half an hour later without his headphones and flip-flops and soaking wet for the rain. So he had gone out before and come back with some clothes missing. Shh, shh. Theory 3, foul play. Foul play is a popular theory. That being said, there's not much evidence pointing in that direction. Throughout his journey, we never see Noah interact with anyone, though it's possible he did so off camera. The authorities have directly said there is no evidence of foul play. However, there are a few things worth mentioning. Noah was a mixed-race Catholic boy who was riding through a largely white and Protestant area of the city. Certainly a hate crime cannot be totally ruled out. In fact, just a few weeks before Noah's disappearance, a 15-year-old boy had been attacked in the area in what was claimed to be a religiously motivated attack. Maybe Noah stumbled across a group of individuals who harassed him, chased him, forced him into the storm drain when he became stuck. Or maybe someone robbed him of his backpack and he sped off, in his panic crashing his bike and suffering the head injury that ultimately led to his demise. Certainly these ideas are speculative, but it's difficult to definitively rule them out. While the theory for self-deletion, while the family claims Noah was happy and not with thoughts of self-deletion, a psychiatrist who examined witness statements, medical records, forensic reports and CCTV has come forward in the investigation to say she believes Noah died by self-deletion as a result of low mood and struggling with his sexuality. There is obviously a lot to unpack here, so let's start with why the psychiatrist believes this. Essentially, she comes to the conclusion that Noah could not reconcile the possibility of himself being gay with his perception of Jordan Peterson's beliefs and values. He had been looking up religious topics on the day of his death, possibly reflecting his inner struggle between his sexuality and his religious beliefs. Now, it's important to note that the only evidence of Noah struggling with his sexuality come in a series of vague text messages to friends in which he says he is in denial and coming out. His family, friends and teachers all seem to have seen no signs of him struggling with his sexuality, not to mention why climb into a storm drain to drown yourself if you're going to kill yourself. Certainly it's understood that those who are suicidal often do things we don't understand, but personally this feels like a stretch. So, will it ever come to light? You know, his mum does not believe that it's self-deletion, but I think that's pretty typical, isn't it, at the end of the day, for a mother not to want to believe that. So Whistling Dix is saying, there's a connection between Paul and Noah. Paul's girlfriend lived in flats beside Noah's house. Who's Paul, though? Don't know who Paul is. Anyway, let's have a look at what we're going to look at next. I've got all these windows open. I think these are, I'm going to show you the last photos of Noah. So on that picture that's up there in the top right hand corner he is obviously quite still young there. There are some more up-to-date photos of him. Let's have a look. So you can see, you know, on that, as I say, that picture up in the top left is a little bit younger. This is the last, it looks very serious on this photo. Let's see if we can just make sure I'm sharing. Yeah, this photo here of him with his friend, he looks very serious there, actually, doesn't he? Bless him. Paul's the one that had his laptop in his backpack. Yeah, of course. Okay. Yeah, so it looks very serious on that last photo of him with his friend. I've got his friend tweeted something. I've got it somewhere. Let's get somewhere. Yeah, so Noah Donohoe, his close friend, shares his last photograph. And this is his friend Jay Tierney, who took this photo the day before. Well, I don't know who took it. It looks like he's taking it as a selfie. This photo was taken the day before Noah disappeared. It does look very serious. But do you know what? Photos mean nothing. You can't tell from a photo well, you know, if you look in his eyes, because I always think, as you know, that eyes tell us a lot. He does look serious. He looks quite sad. He doesn't look happy like he does in his photos when he was younger. You know, there's just something dark that happens to teenagers. You know, I don't know what it is, but I've seen it firsthand with my own family. You know, several people. It's just something dark about puberty, isn't there? That, you know, when young people sort of crossing that threshold where they're just 1 minute they're a child, then they're a teenager, and then they're an adult. But this sort of the in-betweeners, if you've ever watched the series In-Betweeners, I mean, that represents it all in a funny way, but it's really not that funny when it's happening to people. So his friend Jay, you know, gave a tribute for him as well in his tweet that he made. So I don't know how old Jay was, if he was the same age, but he'd be 19 now. Thing is, things change over years, and it may be that some people know the truth about Noah that didn't want to say at the time, and as time goes on, you know, more truth might come out. It may come out. Right, I want to look at now where he was. Let's look at this. So this article talks about the CCTV. I know it's the Sunday World. A lot of people don't like this newspaper, but there's no reason to think that it's not true what they're saying. CCTV captured Noah. Ooh, hang on, it's jigging around. CCTV captured Noah Donohoe sneaking out of the house at 3:30 a.m. on that same day of his disappearance. So the shocking secret footage, captured just 14 hours before his disappearance, was only revealed to lawyers working for his mum, Fiona Donohoe, more than 2 years after her son's tragic disappearance. You know, it just shows you the police, they don't share information with the family, do they? Anyway, let's see what she's got to say. So it sounds like they've set up a crowdfunding. Where's the sound? Oh, yeah. So there he is, cycling on his bike, but
I never thought he wasn't going to come home. And just like, he can never, you know, oh my God, to tell somebody you love them is so important, because none of us can predict what's around the corner, and we all take it for granted. And I thought Noah was going to come home, but I'm so grateful that I got to say I love you and give him his hug.
He was going with the intention to meet his friends and to have a day and come back again. So whatever took him off that route was something pretty serious.
God, you know what? I think sometimes it'd be a good idea if you could just put a tracker on your kids so you could find out exactly where they'd gone and what they were doing. You know, maybe we should all be born with a tracking chip. But of course, we've got our phones now. But the trouble is, if someone just discards their phone, but you know, it's just your worst nightmare as a parent, you know, that your child disappears and you don't know where they are. And so a week, she had to worry about where he was and what had happened to him. But as she says, at least she did get him back, and that is important. At least she could give him, you know, a funeral. Not like these missing children that never get found.
Unfortunately, I have some very sad news. While we have no official identification, we do believe it is the missing teenager, Noah Donohoe.
It's one of the most traumatic complex incidents that I've ever seen in my life, and I have experience of assisting families in their search for answers.
Myself and my sister Neve, there's no way that we are stopping until we find out, you know.
Where's his dad? Where is his dad? Why is his dad not being mentioned? Why are these dads always invisible in these cases?
We will not stop for Noah. I will accept the truth. Just give me the truth for Noah. He deserves it.
Justice for Noah!
I can't believe I haven't heard of this. So this case hasn't cut through. You know, it's not cut through beyond Ireland, which is odd, you know, to me, because it is such a mysterious case. You know, I don't understand why it didn't cut through. I really just don't understand. Right, I'm trying to get off this now and get back up. I've got to stop sharing and go back on. Yeah, why did it not cut through? A case like that, as mysterious as that, about a young boy. Just doesn't make sense to me, to be honest. But right. Can't get back on that now. Okay, I want to just show you, while I'm sort of trying to get back online with that, I'll show you these photos of Noah's mum. So these are photos that are on the, what do they call it? Like the Shutterstock, is it? Getty Images, that's it. Of mainly of Noah's mum and her sister, you know, in their legal fight to get justice for Noah. And as I say, where's his dad? Don't know. Anyway, let me just put some. Let's have a look at his. This was his funeral, bless him. Just so sad, isn't it? A young person like that, literally on the brink of their life. And to die in such weird circumstances, especially. You know, just what happened? I thought there was going to be a picture of the funeral, but there's not. Anyway, never mind. It was a private funeral. Where am I going now? So we've got CCTV. I've lost where I am now. Sorry, I've got lost where I am. We've got CCTV of him leaving the house the night before he disappeared in the early hours of the morning, and coming back with no flip-flops or earphones. So what happened there? That's worrying, isn't it? Why was he intending to take his own life? Anyway, this is the storm drain where he was found. So apparently they were going to investigate the drain access. How did he get in there? To me, I think, I'm not saying that, you know, teenagers do delete themselves, and it's entirely possible that Noah might have been suffering some sort of mental episode. But why would he have gone there? Why would he have gone there? Apparently it's an area he's not familiar with. When people want to delete themselves, they normally go somewhere they know, unless he'd been there to recce it or whatever, that maybe happens. Why that particular place? And whose hand was it on the phone? So it says that so this coroner, the inquest is still going on. It's not resolved yet. It's been going on all this time, off and on. So police have launched an investigation into how access was gained to a storm drain where the body of Belfast teenager Noah Donohoe was discovered last summer. And the PSNI said the new investigation would centre on access to the storm drain network, convenient to the Premier Drive Northwood Road in North Belfast, which is owned by the Department for Infrastructure. Just seems like a funny place to go to do it, unless he went there to hide and he got stuck. Was he hiding from people, maybe? Or did somebody put him there? These are the questions, aren't they? Did he hide in there and didn't realise he won't be able to come out? Or did somebody put him there? Or did he have some sort of mental break and just decide he was going there? It's a very, very mysterious case, this. And I, just instinct, I would say there's more to it. Why would he have gone there? Why would he have been cycling with no clothes on? I just think that's even a teenage boy who was maybe, had thoughts of suicide. I can't believe for a minute that he'd be cycling voluntarily, cycling naked along a public road. Not a teenage boy or a teenage girl or any teenager, why would they do that? They're normally so body conscious, aren't they? So just seems ridiculous, personally, for that. And then to go to this area where apparently he didn't know very well. Anyway, I don't know, but will we ever find out? And more importantly, will his mom ever find out what happened to him? So I just wanted to tell you about this. When I looked at it, I thought this case needs bringing to attention. Oh, right. So let's have a look at this. So apparently during the inquest in 2024, the court was told about the hand photo on Noah Donohoe's phone. A photo of a hand may have been taken on Noah Donohoe's mobile phone hours after he went missing, the court has heard. So the 14-year-old was found dead in a storm drain in 2020, 6 days after he went missing. And Brenda Campbell KC, who is representing Noah's mother Fiona, told an inquest that during an examination of material from Noah's phone, an expert had found an image of what appears to be a palm or a portion of a hand, and she described it as a type of photograph that might inadvertently be taken by a telephone that has been picked up or held in a hand. It wasn't Noah's hand. The significance of this is that the expert instructs it was taken at 1850 on the evening of Noah's disappearance. And Miss Campbell said they've asked their expert to double check the time, but if it was taken at 1850, that raises the prospect that Noah's phone was in someone's hand at that time. Based on what we know of Noah's movements and his disappearance about 40 minutes previously in the area of Northwood Crescent, a strong inference would be that it wasn't Noah's hand. And the barrister said she wanted to raise questions about with the police around the photograph. She said, did they know about it? And for how long have they known about it? And what was done about it? Who was in possession of Noah's phone at that time and that date? And if the answer is no, they didn't know about it, then why not? So the court was told a provisional date for a full inquest had been set for 3rd of February 2025. Let's just see what the latest is. Oh, so apparently they're going to be using, artificial intelligence. Right, I need to do a follow-up about this because I've got to finish in a moment because I've got something else I want to talk about before we finish completely. But apparently in August last year, a senior coroner recused himself from the inquest. In other words, took himself off the inquest. Why was that? Yeah. Yeah, so it's not finished anyway. It's not finished. In January this year, it was said that artificial intelligence is possibly going to be used to examine CCTV footage. Yeah, so it's a very curious case, isn't it? I hope, that just makes it so difficult, even more difficult for his mum. I mean, it's difficult, whatever, even if it was, an easy case, if you like, or a straightforward case, it's still difficult for the family. But this, with all the questions involved in this case, it's a real, it must be awful. Must be, well, you just can't imagine. 5 years on, still don't know really properly what's happened. Now, I will keep you updated on that, so don't forget to like, subscribe, etc. Press your notifications. Now, just to finish now, I'm going to talk about another case, but there is a similarity, and I'm going to split this. Video in two and release this second part of it as a video as well, because this is very important as well. All the cases I talk about are important, but this particular case we have been following for quite a while now, unfortunately, over a year, and this is the case of Jack O'Sullivan. Now, today's Jack O'Sullivan's birthday, so that must be so difficult for his family. Again, it's difficult because Jack O'Sullivan, he's I think he was 22 when he went missing. It's his birthday today, so I think he's had 2 birthdays now since he's been missing. So he'd be 24 now, would he? Anyway, we'll see in a minute, because we're going to look at a statement that his mum made on social media. And Jack went to a party. I periodically do, I can't really call them updates because there are no updates as far as we know about, but periodically remind people about this case. This happened in Bristol, in the UK, and Jack went to a party in the Hotwells area of Bristol, which I'm going to get up, I think, on, sorry, I'm just putting down some. Hotwells, Bristol. That's where it took place, or where he disappeared. Now, there's been a few young men disappeared and gone missing in this area. The others have been found. That's another video I'd like to make soon, like comparing all the cases, because Jack was a student at Bristol University. And so was one of the other people, young men that went missing. But anyway, that's for another video. Today, in this video, I just really want to concentrate on Jack's case, with it being his birthday. Just another review. We'll carry on talking about Jack's case, because you just never know who might be watching one day and know something that other people didn't know. But this is the Hotwells area in Bristol. Now, as you can see, there's a lot of water around here. This is a problem, isn't it? Because and the police think Jack went into the water. The police quite often are right when they think things like that have happened. Young men drunk coming out of a party, was looking for a taxi, wandering around the town centre. Was spotted on CCTV at various points. But there's a lot of water around. So they may be right. The police may be right. They often are right about people being in water. But unfortunately now, because it's been so long, I mean, we're talking well over a year, really, or, you know, of Jack O'Sullivan going missing. And no sign, nothing's been found, none of his possessions, nothing, nada, zilch, you know. So his poor family are just left in limbo, really. And you'll see in a minute, you know, and we know from my channel, people's actually messaging them and saying, no, you've got to just move on. You know, as if you've just lost your handbag or something, not your son. Like, would you ever move on? You will never move on. Jack could be missing for 30 years. As long as Catherine, his mum, and the rest of his family have got breath in their body, they will carry on trying to find Jack. Even if in their head maybe they think, oh, he's long gone from this world, but they still want to bring him home. They still want to, you know, give him a send off. They don't want to think of him lying around somewhere, wherever he is. And of course, what they really want to think is he is still breathing air on this planet. And, you know, until is proven to them and shown to them specifically that he isn't, they will hold out hope, and they should. Of course they should. Just makes me angry how would anyone say, oh, move on, when they don't even know how it feels? How dare they? How dare they tell this family to move on? Makes me absolutely incandescent angry. Anyway, let's have a look at what Jack's mum has put on the social media. So they actually, in the end, did pause the Facebook group at one point, but it's still going now. But because they got Catherine and the others, they got disillusioned and saddened by the things that people were putting on there. Unbelievable. Anyway, so earlier today, Catherine, his mum, put on this post. Today is Jack's 24th birthday. Time continues to move forward, and we still have no idea where Jack is or what has happened to him. Anyone who has information, please come forward and share it with us. We still believe that someone knows something. All information can be sent to findjack23@gmail.com. So she then goes on to say, and this is literally what I cannot believe, despite being sent messages that we should face the reality that we might not see Jack again, we are not prepared to give up on our son and our brother. What family would? Exactly. So I would say to those people, if it was your son, your nephew, your mum, your dad, whoever, your dog even, you wouldn't give up, would you? Why do you think that Catherine should give up? Someone you know, as I say, it's not just a handbag she's lost. No, it's unbelievable. You know, it's just so unbelievable that anyone would say that to someone who was grieving a missing child. Well, I know he's not a child, but he is her child. The pain we are living is unbearable, but we must keep going. Yes, I agree completely. We are not giving up on Jack. And we ask you to do the same. Thank you so much. So yeah, we won't be giving up on Jack. Periodically, I will be bringing up his case, you know, on a regular basis. Just keep talking about it. There's not much else we can do, though I do believe if you contact them at findjack23, I don't know if they're still at gmail.com. Don't know if they're still doing searches and things, but they were doing regular searches because Catherine has been very disappointed in the, you know, she doesn't get much contact from the police now. and, you know, to be fair to the police, there's lots of other missing people. You know, for Catherine, there is only one, really, isn't it? It's just, you know, your family member is the only one, as far as you're concerned. And that's fair enough. And it's up to the families to keep pressure on the police, I think, because otherwise the police would just move on to other priorities. And in some ways you can understand that in a logical way. So yeah, I think it's good that Catherine and us, the public, people that are supporting her, you know, keep pressure on, even if it's just in the sense of sharing posts, keeping his face out there, keeping his name alive always, and maybe one day, because things change. So if somebody does know something about what happened to Jack, you know, over a year ago, and maybe they didn't want to come forward then, but things might have changed now. For whatever reason, things might be different now, and they might be more prepared to come forward now to help put this family out of their misery and let them know, you know, what has happened to him. You know, Jack wasn't, you know, someone who disappeared on a regular basis. He literally went to a party with his friends. He was quite, you know, a sort of, what would you call him? You know, he wasn't, he didn't have a high risk lifestyle, you know, that people will say, oh, well, that, you know, he was always running it off with his druggy friends, or he was always doing this, or he was always doing that. No, he wasn't. He was on his way home that night. He definitely had the intention of going home. There's no reason to think he had any intention of doing anything to himself. You know, so he's either had an accident. There's only a few possibilities. He's either had an accident and fallen into the river, or maybe a different kind of accident. I mean, we just don't know. Or some foul play has befallen him. Yeah, really, but it's one or the other. And of course, none of Jack's belongings have been found. And one of his friends phoned him, and Jack answered the phone and said, hello, and then the phone cut off. So we just don't know if it ran out of battery or if the phone was taken off him, etc. Okay, so as I say, I will be doing regular updates about Jack, or just reminders to people that he's still missing. Hopefully not for long. Hopefully there will be some resolution for Catherine and her family one way or another, sooner or later. Let's hope so. Okay, so that's the two straight. So actually, while I'm on, I'll light another candle as well for Jack. So we lit a candle initially for Noah. We lit a candle, and then this one's for Jack. Happy birthday, Jack, wherever you are. You know, let's hope that before your next birthday, your mum gets some news, and let's hope it's good news. But any news, to be honest, it feels like it's better than no news. For some resolution for this family, you know, to know what's happened to Jack. Okay, so take care. I'll see you really soon in the next video. Remember to like, please, subscribe, and yeah, but most importantly, look after yourselves, because you are the most important thing. Because remember, you can't look after other people unless you look after yourself. So take care. I'll see you really soon in the next video, and until then, may your God go with you. Bye.